श्री श्री कृष्ण कन्हैया लाल की जय। संसार दावा नलनिधलोका त्राणाय कारुण्यागन गणात्वम् संसार दावा नलनिधलोका त्राणाय कारुण्यागन गणात्वम् प्राप्तस्य कल्याणगुणनवास्य वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम्। महाप्रभु कीर्तन नित्य गीता वदित माद्यान् मनसोरसेना। रोमाञ्चकम्पा शुतरंग भाजो वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम्। श्रीविग्रहाराधन नित्यनाना शृङ्गारतन्मन्दिरमदनार्दो। युक्तस्य भक्तां च नियुञ्जतोऽपि वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम्। चतुर्विधा श्रीभगवत्प्रसादो स्वधर्मतृप्तां हरिभक्तसङ्गाम्। कृत्वेव तृप्तिं भजत सदेवा वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम्। तरेत्वेना समस्तशास्त्रे उक्तस्तथा भाव्यते वसाप्ति किन्तु प्रभोर्या प्रियैव तस्या वन्दे गुरो प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादानगति कुतोऽपि यस्य प्रसादा भगवत्प्रसादो यस्य प्रसादानगति कुतोऽपि ध्यायन्तु वां तस्याय शस्त्रिसन्ध्या वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणरविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो चरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो श्रीचरणारविन्दम् वन्दे गुरो कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीति नामिने प्रसीदं नवनीतचोरम् नवं बुधा श्यामला कान्तिचोरम् पदाश्रितानां च समस्तचोरं चोरज्ञगण्यं पुरुषं नमामि अकिञ्चनीकृत्य पदाश्रितं य करोति भिक्षुं गिरिप्रसारनपि पापरासन् आश्चर्यरूपो ननु चोरायते दृष्टिश्रुतो वनमाया कदापि तथेन्द्रियाणि प्रणं चरित्वा मां सर्व एव फलस्य कुत्रो धृतोऽद्यचोरा त्वं भक्तिदां नशि माया निरुधा पाशबन्धं विनत्सि भीमं भव पाशबन्धं चिनत्सि सर्वस्य समस्तबन्धं निर्वर्तमानो भक्तकृतं तु बन्धम् मन्मनसे तमस्राशि घोरे कारागृहे दुःखमाया निबद्धा लभस्व हे चोरा हरे चिराय स्वचोर्यदोषोचितं सदा हृदये मदीये मद्भक्तिपास दृढे बन्धना निश्चलासन् त्वं कृष्ण हे प्रलयाकोटिसन्तरे सर्वस्य चोरा हृदयं नहि मोचयामि व्रजे प्रसीदं नवनीतचोरं गोपङ्गराजां च दुःखचोरम्
Divine Grace of our Chandarinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON PPT Bhaktivedanta Institute Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Shripada Paramahamsa Pratikacharya Ashtota Shada Shishmati Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavanda Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridasa Thakur Ki Jai. Premasi Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Kri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Bhardabhumi Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Navadvipa Maya Padam Ki Jai. Purushottama Chaitra Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Shri Ayodhya Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Samarita Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Purushottama Dikamasa Ki Jai. Chorastakam Ki Jai. Harinama Sankirtan Ki Jai. Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glory to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Namah
Kani kani cha papani brahma jati kani cha Kani prana shanti parikshane pade pade Yani kani cha papani brahma jati kani cha Tani kani prana shanti parikshane pade pade Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani. Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. Nitai Gaura Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaura Hari Bo. Vrindaye Tulasi Devaye Priyaye Kesya Vesya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Pradedeve Satya Vitaye Namo Namaha. Vrindaye Tulasi Devaye Kesya Vesya Cha Vishnu Bhakti Pradedeve Satya Vitaye Namo Namaha. Vrindaye Tulasi Devaye Priyaye Kesya Vesya Cha Krishna Bhakti Pradedeve Satya Vitaye Namo Namaha. Shri Tulsi Devi Jai.
Oh, Tulasi, Lord Krishna, I love you. Offenses in the matter of chanting holy names that should be avoided, and they are as follows. 1. To blaspheme the devotees demigod of Lord Shiva or Brahma, the equal to independent name Lord Vishnu. 3. To dissipate the order of spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature pursuing the Vedic version. 5. To consider glory of chanting Hare Krishna as imagination. 6. To give some interpretation to holy name the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities on strength of chanting holy name. 8. To consider chanting Hare Krishna one of the auspiciously chosen activities, offering the Veda as spiritual activities, Dharma Kanda. 9. To instruct the faithless person about glory of holy name. 10. To not complete faith in chanting holy names, and to maintain material attachment in understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is often offensive inattentive while chanting. Every devotee or primitive Vaishnava must carefully guard against these 10 offenses in order to achieve desired success.
Krishna Prema.
Also for most humble obeisances and all Vaishnava devotees, Lord.
They are just like desire trees that can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for fallen conditioned souls. Chakalpatarabhishcha, Sindhubhyebhcha, Anampadadebhyo, Om Namo Namaha.
Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam ki jai.
Shri
Cheto Darpanamarjanam Bhavamahadavagni Nirvapanam Shriya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipatam Purnarmita Sadhanam Sarvatma Snapanam Paramijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Namamakali Bahuda Nija Sarva Shakti Tatra Gita Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha Etadishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durudevami Disham Iha Janina Nuragaha Trinatapi Sunichena Tarorapi Saishnuna Amanina Manatena Kirtaniya Sadaharihi Najanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitamba Jagadisha Kamayi Mama Jammani Jammanishware Bhavata Bhaktir Haituki Tvai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitamam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Sitaturi Satesha Vichintaya Nayanam Gadashrudaya Vadanam Kakadaruddaya Gira Pulakanicham Vapurkada Tavanama Kahane Bhavishyati Yugaidam Nimishena Chakshusha Pravishaidam Shunyaitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahena Me Ashri Shava Padaratam Pinnastumam Atarshanam Marmahatam Karotuva Yatha Tatha Va Vidathatu Lampato Matrana Nathastu Sadeva Mahaparaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Chaitanya Shikshastakam ki jai.
Glory
To Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of all dust accumulated for years, and extinguishes the fire of conditional life for repeated birth and death. This time movement is prime benediction for humanity at large, because it spreads the rays of benediction. It is the life of all
transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so firm, I have no attraction for them. Once you chant the holy name of the Lord in the humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the strongest tree, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want number of wives. I only want your causeless devotional service birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yet somehow or other I have fallen to this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death. Place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy names? When will my voice choke up and will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your holy name? O Govinda, Feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Sri Chaitanya Siksastakam Ki Jai. Namo. Shri Guru Pranama Prayers Ki Jai. Om Aganyatimarastasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurunimlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutali Swayam Rupa Katamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Pachkamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Saidvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Nivitam Sha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamani Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutali Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Tinamini Shivasuvani Vidayi Dayitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vigyana Dayane Prabhave Namaha Madhur Ujvala Premadya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gora Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupanuga Virudaba Abhasiddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gora Kishoraya Shakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipalambara Sambodhe Padambhajayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachitananda Namine Gora Shakti Swarupaya Rupanuga Varayate Gora Virbhava Bhumestvam Nirdesta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Savabhama Sri Jagannathaya Te Namaha Vanchakalpa Tarabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyebhacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Padayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Guru Chase Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Saktikam Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Radha Kanta Namostute Jayatam Surator Pangur Mama Manda Mater Gati Matsarva Swapadambo Jo Radha Madana Mohano Divyad Vindaranya Kalpadramadaha Shimad Ratnagara Simhasanastito Shimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Prastali Bihi Sevyamano Smarame Shiman Rasa Rasa Rambivam Sivata Tatastita Karsan Venuswanir Gopir Gopinatak Striyestuna Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Rishabhanu Stute Devi Pranamami Haripriya Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Shri Guru Pranama Prayers Ki Jai Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadiradi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Chintamani Pragahasatma Sukalpa Vriksha Laksha Vrite Susuravi Ravipali Hantam Lakshmi Sahasra Satasam Brahma Sevyamanam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Venum Kvanandam Aravinda Dalayataksham Parhavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam Kandar Pakoti Kamaniya Vishesha Sobham Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Alola Chandra Kalasadvanamalya Vamsi Ratnam Gadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shamam Jibanga Lalita Nita Prakasam Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasya Sakalendriya Rittimanti pasyanti panti kalyanti chiranjaganti ananda chinmaya sadujvala vigrahasya govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami advaitam achyutam anadim anantarupam adyam purana purusham navayovanam cha vedesa durlabam adurlabam atma bhakto govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami Pantastu koti satavatsara sampragam yo vayoradapi manaso manipungamanam sobhyasti yad prapadasim yalichintya tattve govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami ekopya sora chayatum jagadanda kotim yas chaktirasti jagadanda chayayadanta adantarasta paramanu chayantarastam govindam adi purisham tamaham bhajami Yad bhava bhavita diyo manajastataiva samprapya rupa mahimas yanasanavusa suktaryameva nigama pratitaistavanti govindam adipurusham tamahan vajami ananda chinmaya rasapati bhavitabi tabirya eva nija rupa tayakalabi goloka eva nivasata tayakabuto govindam adipurusham pramaham vajami Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santaksadeva Hidesu Vilokayanti Yam Shama Sundaram Achintya Gunaswarupam Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Brahmadi Murti Sukala Niyamena Tistana Navataram Akurud Bhuvanesu Kintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramam Pumamyo Govindam Adi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai. So we can read, everyone can read the English translation. So let's start now.
Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes.
Very good. Next.
I worship Govinda, the Premal Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desire, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis.
Good.
I worship Govinda, the Premal Lord, who is adept in playing on his flute, with blooming eyes like lotus petals, with head decked with peacock feather, with the figure of beauty tinged with the hue of blue clouds, and his unique loveliness charming millions of cupids.
Very good.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, round whose neck is swinging a garland of flowers beautified with the moon locket, whose two hands are adorned with a flute and jeweled ornaments, who always revels in pastimes of love, whose graceful threefold bending form of Shyamsundara is eternally manifest.
Good.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of the transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane.
Very good.
I worship Govinda, the primal Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha, yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth.
So give it to her.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, only the tip of the toe of whose lotus feet is approached by the yogis who aspire after the transcendental and betake themselves to
Pranayama.
by drilling the respiration, or by the jhanis who try to find out the non-differentiated Brahman by the process of elimination of the mundane, extending over thousands of millions of years.
Very good.
He is an undifferentiated entity, as there is no distinction between potency and the possessor thereof. In his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and at the same time. Such is the primeval Lord, whom I adore.
Very good.
I adore the same Govinda, the primeval Lord, in whose praise men who are imbued with devotion sing the mantra suttas told by the Vedas by gaining their appropriate beauty, greatness, thrones, conveyances, and ornaments.
Good.
I worship Govinda, the primary Lord, residing in his own realm, Goloka, with Radha resembling his own spiritual figure. The embodiment of the ecstatic potency possessed of the 64 artistic activities in the company of her
Confidants.
Sakis,
Sakis.
embodiments of the extensions of her bodily form,
Permeated.
and vitalized by his ever blissful spiritual paths. Rasa.
Very good. Next.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is Shyamasundara, Krishna himself, with inconceivable, innumerable attributes, whom the pure devotees see in their hearts, with the eye of devotion tinged with the slave of love.
Salve.
Salve of love.
Very good.
I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who manifested himself personally as Krishna and the different avatars in the world, in the forms of Rama, Nrsimha, Vamana, etc., as his subjective portion.
Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam Grantaraja Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we can recite together. Janma Dasya Yata Niviyat Vitaratash Trateswa Vigyaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adhikavaye Muyanti Atsurayaha Tejo Varimadam Yata Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Misha Damna Swena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dimahi. Who would like to read? Anybody? You already did. Anybody else? Okay.
O my Lord, Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Shri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universe. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge onto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being.
By him,
even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him, the material universe is temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, epifactual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Shri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth.
Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.2, we can recite together. Dharma projita kaitravo cha nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam atravastu shivadam tapo trayon mulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimva Parir Ishvaraha Sadyo hridaya varudyate cha kritibihi susabhistakshanat. Somebody?
Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated. This Bhagavad Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth approves the threefold miseries. The beautiful Bhagavatam, compiled by the great sage Vasudeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of Bhagavatam, by the culture of knowledge, the supreme Lord is established within them.
Very good. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.3. Nigama kapatarur galitam phalam sukhamukad amrita dravya samyutam pipata bhagavatam rasamalayam muhur ahoraska bhuvibhavakaha. Anybody?
O expert and thoughtful men, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desire tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice is already relishable for all, including liberated souls.
Thank you very much. Very well. So, did we chant the Rajay Prasad Prasidam Lavinat Churastakam? Yes? Yeah, okay. So now we'll recite the English. Anybody? Just read the English.
I offer my respectful obeisances to the foremost of thieves, who is famous for...
Wait a minute. I offer pranama to the most foremost of thieves. Is that where you are?
No.
Yeah, go ahead. Starting.
I offer my respectful obeisances to the foremost of thieves, who is famous in Raj as the butter thief, and he who steals the gopis' clothes, and who, for those who take shelter of him, steals the sins which have occurred over many lifetimes.
Wonderful. Next.
I offer my respectful obeisances to the foremost of thieves, who steals Srimati Radhika's heart, who steals the dark lustre of a fresh rain cloud, and who steals all the sins and sufferings of those who take shelter of his feet.
This is a good thief, not a bad thief like the people that came here yesterday. Go ahead. Huh? What? The thieves that came yesterday. This is a good thief. Go ahead, next, somebody.
He turns his surrendered devotees into paupers and wandering, homeless beggar. Alas, such a fearsome thief has never been seen or heard of in all the three worlds.
Mere utterance of his name purges one of a mountain of sins. Such an astonishingly wonderful thief I have never seen or heard of anywhere.
O thief, having stolen my wealth, my honor, my senses, my life, and my everything, where can you run into? I have caught you with the rope of my devotion.
Haribol. You
cut the terrible nose of Yamraja. You serve the dearful you sever the full nose of material existence, and you slash everyone's...
It's not nose, it's noose.
Sorry. You sever the dearful news of material existence, and you slash everyone's material bondage, and you are unable to cut the knot fastened by your own loving devotees.
O stealer of my everything, O thief, today I have imprisoned you in the miserable prison house of my heart, which is very fearful due to the terrible darkness of my ignorance. And there, for a very long time, you will remain receiving appropriate punishment for your crimes of thievery.
O Krishna, thief of my everything, the noose of my devotion remaining forever tight, you will continue to reside in the prison house of my heart because I will not release you for millions of aeons.
Jai, Haribol, Ogres Prabhupada Ki Jai. Okay, so today we are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 13, verse number 36. How does that sound, right? 36. Shraktunda asit suva isana sayor. Idodare chamasa karnarandire. Prasitramasya grahasane grahastute. Yajcharvanam te bhagavan agnihotram. Shrak, the plate for sacrifice. Tunde, on the tongue. Asit, there is. Shruva, another plate for sacrifice. Isha, O Lord. Nasayo, of the nostrils. Ida, the plate for eating. Udare, in the belly. Shamasa, another plate for sacrifices. Karnarandre, in the holes of the ears. Pasitram, the plate called the Brahma plate. Asye, in the mouth. Grasane, in the throat. Graha, the plates known as soma plates. Two, but. Te, your. Yat, that which. Charvanam, chewing. Te, your. Bhagavan, O my Lord. Agnihotram, in your eating through your sacrificial fire. Okay, who would like to read the translation and the purport? Anybody? Go ahead.
O Lord, your tongue is a plate of sacrifice, your nostril is another plate of sacrifice. In your belly is the eating plate of sacrifice, and another plate of sacrifice is the holes of your ears. In your mouth is the Brahma plate of sacrifice. Your throat is the plate of sacrifice known as Soma, and whatever you chew is known as Agnihotra. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Vadis say that there is nothing more than the Vedas, and the performances of sacrifice mentioned in the Vedas. They have recently made a rule in their group to formally observe daily sacrifice. They simply ignite a small fire and offer something whimsically, but they do not strictly follow the sacrificial rules of regulations. It is understood that by regulation there are different plates of sacrifice required, such as Shrak, Shuva,
Barhis,
Chatrotra, Ida, Chamasa, Prashatya, Prashitra,
Graha,
Graha, Agnihotra, and Agnihotra. One cannot achieve the results of sacrifice unless one observes the strict regulations. In this age, there is practically no facility for performing sacrifice in strict discipline. Therefore, in this age of Kali, there is
there is a stricture
regarding such sacrifices. It is explicitly directed that one should perform Sankirtana Yagna and nothing more. The incarnation of the
Supreme Lord,
is Yagnashvara, and unless one has respect for the incarnation of the Lord, he cannot perfectly perform sacrifice. In other words, taking shelter of the Lord and rendering service unto him is factual performance of all sacrifices. As explained herein, different plates of sacrifice correspond to the different parts of the body of the Lord's incarnation. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, it is explicitly directed that one should perform Sankirtana Yagna to please the Lord's incarnation as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This should be rigidly followed in order to achieve the result of Yagna performance.
Okay, now this is a very important purport, and continuing what I was explaining you last night, it is the Yuga Dharma. Yuga Dharma means it is the recommended way in this particular time called Kali Yuga, how people can be liberated from the cycle of birth and death. They don't have to do severe austerities. They don't have to perform like tremendous pilgrimages, and they don't have to engage in chanting so many Vedic mantras. There's nothing wrong with chanting Vedic mantras, but they don't have to chant all the different Vedic mantras. Basically, all they have to do is just chant Hare Krishna. Now, this is explained in several places. I mentioned the 11th chapter, but also in the 12th chapter, it says, Kalir dosa nithe rajan astihi eka mahad guna kirtanad eva krishnasya muktasangasya jayate. So, that means in the age of Kali, there are many bad things, but there's one great good thing. That is, simply by chanting Hare Krishna, you can go back to Godhead. Now, sometimes people say, oh, wait a minute, that's so easy. Give me something harder to do. What? Why do you want to do something harder? Right? Why don't you take the easy way that's recommended for this age? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, so now I'm going to read a few things that are very interesting. So Prabhupada was talking about the 11th chapter. Yes, there is definitely tremendous information about chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in the 11th chapter. One second, let me just see here. So the 11th chapter, yeah, 11th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th chapter, 36th verse, 11.5.36, says, those who are actually advanced in knowledge are able to appreciate the essential value of this age of Kali. Such enlightened persons worship Kali Yuga because in this fallen age, all perfection of life can easily be achieved by the performance of Sankirtana. So that's where it was saying that in the 11th chapter, 11th canto, there's information about chanting Hare Krishna. And in the purport it says, it is stated here that among the 4 ages, Satya, Treta, Dwapara, and Kali, Kali Yuga is actually the best, because in this age, the Lord mercifully distributes the highest perfection of consciousness, namely Krishna consciousness, very freely. The word Arya has been defined by Srila Prabhupada as one who is advancing spiritually. The name of an advanced person, the nature of an advanced person is to search for the essence of life. For example, the essence of the material body is not the body itself, but the spirit soul that is within the body. Therefore, an intelligent person gives more attention to the eternal spirit soul than to the temporary body. Similarly, although Kali Yuga is considered to be an ocean of contamination, there is also an ocean of good fortune in Kali Yuga, namely the Sankirtana movement. In other words, all of the degraded qualities of this age are completely counteracted by the process of chanting the holy names of the Lord. Thus, it is stated in the Vedic language, Dhyayan krite yajan yajnais, treta yam dvapare richayan, yad apnati tad apnati kalo sankirta keshavam. Whatever is achieved in Satya Yuga by meditation, in Treta Yuga by offering ritual sacrifices, and in Dwapara Yuga by temple worship, is achieved in Kali Yuga by chanting the names of Lord Keshava congregationally. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. So the worst time is Kali Yuga, but it actually is the best time for devotees, because it's so hard. It was so hard in other ages, like the Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, to become Krishna conscious. You had to do a lot of things that were very difficult. Therefore, but in Kali Yuga, because it's such a negative time in history, it's become very easy, because Krishna wants his devotees to come back to Godhead. So actually, it's the best time to be born in Kali Yuga. And you see in Kali Yuga what's going on. Like, thieves come and steal things from a temple. You know? That's like the worst thing you could do. Right? And there's murders, and there's drugs, and there's all kinds of, there's war, all kinds of horrible things are happening. But the devotees will be protected if they take up this chanting very seriously. The Vedic process gradually lifts the conditioned entity out of the darkness of ahankara, or false identification with the gross material body, and brings him to the platform of self-realization, or aham brahmasmi, I am spirit soul, I am eternal. So if somebody asks you, let's say one of you young boys here, let's say Prabhuji, if somebody asks you, who are you? What are you going to say? You know?
I'm going to say I'm a human and tell my name and age to them.
That's the wrong answer. But don't be surprised. Most people say the same thing. So, Gopal Krishna, if someone asks you, who are you? What would you say?
I am a devotee.
What? You don't know?
I said
Oh, you are a devotee. Yeah, well, that's close to the right answer. Very close to the right answer. Wait a minute. Let's see. Prabhu, what would you say if someone asked you tomorrow or next week when you go to, or if you go play basketball or something, or go to school and someone said, who are you? What would you say? That's the correct answer. You have an eternal spirit soul. That's who I am, you see. Now, here's a simple question, but many people get it wrong. They say, I am this body, this is the address where I live, this is the name of my family, this is my 401k, this is the name of my dog. They give you all kinds of answers like that because they're only concerned with the body. They're not concerned with who they really are, which is an eternal soul. Okay, so the Vedic process gradually lifts the conditioned entity out of the darkness of ahankara, false identification with the body, or false identification with the gross material body, and brings him to the platform of self-realization, or aham brahmasmi. I am spirit soul. I am eternal. So let's repeat that. I am, let me say it first, then you repeat. I am spirit soul. I am eternal. Okay. So if someone asks you, Gopal Krishna, or any of the young boys, if they ask you who you are, what are you going to say? Okay. That's right. You see, that's who you really are. If you say, oh, I'm the brother of so-and-so, and my mother's name is so-and-so, and my uncle's name is this, and I live in this street. None of those things are who you are. I am a spirit soul, and I am eternal. One has to make further progress to discover that although one is eternal, there is a superior eternal entity who is the Lord himself within one's own heart and within every atom in the material universe. Beyond this second phase of self-realization, there is the third and final stage of perfection, which is realization of Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his own abode. So, okay, so there's different levels of understanding. I am a spiritual soul. I am eternal. Also, you have to understand that God is present in my heart as Paramatma. He's also present in every atom of the universe. And so that's like a second phase of self-realization. You're carrying God in your heart. Everybody is. Every living entity, the plants, the bugs, the birds, the snakes, they all have Paramatma in the heart. And beyond that, so that's the second phase of who you are. You learn who you are in respect to others, but to learn who you really are, you have to understand who you really are in respect to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who's present in your heart, who is the source of all the energy that you have, and who sarva shichaham hridi sanavisto matak smriti jnanam apahanam cha vedaishta sarviraham eva vedya vedantikrit vedavid eva chaham. He is sarva shichaham hridi sanavisto, in the heart of every living entity. Matak smriti jnanam apahanam cha. From him comes knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. Vedaishta sarvir aham eva vedya. Krishna is the goal of all Vedic knowledge. To know Krishna is the goal of all Vedic knowledge. And all the Vedas are to help you understand who Krishna is. Vedanta Krit Vedavid Eva Chaham. Krishna compiled the Vedas and he knows the Vedas. Okay, so there is a superior eternal entity who is the Lord himself within one's own heart and within every atom in the material universe. Beyond this second phase of self-realization, if you want to understand who you are, yes, I am a spirit soul, I am eternal, but you also have to understand that in my heart, Krishna is present. Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is present as Paramatma. And he's also present in every atom of the universe. That's why everything works. Everything is going on automatically, as if it looks like nobody's controlling it, but actually Krishna is controlling everything because he's present in every atom of the universe. And then beyond the second phase of self-realization, there is a third and final stage of perfection, which is realization of Bhagavan, or Krishna, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his own abode. That is, when you understand Krishna in Vrindavan with the gopis and all the residents there, and the pastimes that he's having there, that's the third level of self-identification. That's who you really are. That's where you belong. That's where you came from, right? So there are these three levels. And how do you attain these three levels? Simply by chanting Hare Krishna. Very simple, not complicated. Anyone can do it. Even a child can be perfect in spiritual realization simply by understanding these 3 points. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is not primarily the superintendent of this world, but rather the enjoyer of his own world, which is beyond the most fantastic dreams of the conditioned living entity. In other words, although the king or president of a country is ultimately the controller of the prison department, the king or president derives actual pleasure within his own palace and not in administering justice to the foolish prisoners. Similarly, the Lord appoints the demigods to administer the material creation on his behalf, while he himself personally enjoys the ocean of transcendental bliss in his own transcendental kingdom. So there was once this man came from Germany to find God in India. And he very fortunately found the Gaudiya Math and Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and he took initiation from him. And then the devotees asked him a question. They said, how come you came to India, and how come you chose to worship Krishna? He said, well, I came to India because I could understand that the real purity of spiritual life is still present in India. And when I came here, I went to different temples. And in each temple, I saw that the deity was doing something. But the only temple that I went to, and I saw that God does not have any duty, was the Krishna temple. All he was doing was playing his flute and dancing and having a great time. He said, then I understood, this has to be God. He's not like, punishing the demons. He's not like doing this or that. The demigods are doing this. He's got other people doing it, or he has other expansions that are doing this. But he himself, he's just enjoying transcendental loving relationships with his devotees in Goloka Vrindavan. He said, that's why I joined the Gaudiya Math and surrendered to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was a smart man, a very smart man, they say. And then he saw also, look, all you have to do is chant Hare Krishna purely, you go back to Godhead. So you don't have to be an expert in Sanskrit. You don't have to climb a mountain or anything like that. All you have to do is just chant Hare Krishna and be happy and help other people also and teach other people to chant Hare Krishna. This realization of Krishna begins with understanding that there are innumerable Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, and that on each of them a particular expansion of Narayana dwells with his innumerable devotees who are attached to that particular form. The central and chief planet is in the spiritual sky is called Krishna Loka, and there the personality of Godhead exhibits its supreme and original form of Govinda, as confirmed by Lord Brahma. Govindam Adipurisham Tamaham Bhajami. Lord Brahma also states, Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Anadi Radhi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam, Brahma Samhita 5.1. Thus, love of Krishna and entrance into Krishna's planet in the spiritual sky is the most supremely perfect and exalted status of life available anywhere, at any time, throughout the totality of existence. That perfection is available in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the holy names of God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Therefore, every sane person, man, woman, or child, well, that includes everybody, right? Man, woman, or child, should deeply understand the unprecedented opportunity offered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and seriously take up this chanting process. Only the most unfortunate and irrational person will neglect this transcendental opportunity. This is 11th canto and 5th chapter, 36th verse. If you want to understand the uniqueness of Kali Yuga and the the amazing mercy of Lord Chaitanya, you should read this every day and understand it's very easy to go back to Godhead in this age, much easier than any other age. Therefore, for devotees, Kali Yuga is the best time, and for non-devotees, it's the worst time. Okay. Are there any questions about that? No questions? Okay. So, we also discussed what is objective and what is subjective. So, when they describe the body of Varaha, that's objective. But then when they start explaining the different plates of sacrifice required, those are a different way of looking at Varaha. That's subjective. It means that you may not be able to see it. You might not be able to weigh it. You might not be able to see how big it is, and it's different than something objective where you can you have an idea of how long it is or how heavy it is. It's a subjective explanation of the same thing that is objective, right? But it's an extension. So therefore, it says, it is understood that by regulation, there are different plates of sacrifice required, such as Shrak, Shruva, etc., and Agnihotra. One cannot achieve the results of sacrifice unless one observes the strict regulations. In this age, there is practically no facility for performing sacrifices in strict discipline. Therefore, in this age of Kali, there is a stricture, or there's a rule, regarding such sacrifices. It is explicitly directed that one should perform Sankirtan Yagya and nothing more. There it is. You don't have to do all these complicated sacrifices and all these complicated different things. You just chant Hare Krishna purely. and develop your love and devotion for Krishna and spread that to others. The incarnation of the Supreme Lord is Yagyaswara, meaning the Lord of sacrifice. And unless one has respect for the incarnation of the Lord, he cannot perfectly perform sacrifice. In other words, taking shelter of the Lord and rendering service unto him is the factual performance of all sacrifices, as explained herein. Different plates of sacrifice correspond to the different parts of the body of the Lord's incarnation. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, see, different plates of sacrifice, and they explained them, that corresponds to different parts of the body of the Lord incarnation. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 11th canto, it is explicitly directed that one should perform Sankirtan Yagya to please the Lord's incarnation as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This should be rigidly followed in order to achieve the result of Yagya performance. So, someone will say, oh, well, we're going to do a special Yagya, Gayatri Yagya, with 10,000 people on Mount Abu. Please come and be part of this Yagya. So a lot of people will go, but that's not recommended in Kali Yuga. What's recommended is you can get 10,000, you get 100,000, you get 1,000,000 people come and chant Hare Krishna. Then you have a real Yagya. These other types of Yagyas, the Gayatri Yagya, this Yagya, that Yagya, they're going on all the time in India. A lot of people go to them. But they're not going to be correctly executed, and you're not going to get the actual results. Love of Krishna. Right? Okay. Are there any questions? Yes.
Maharaj, just want to give my understanding on this verse and then ask a question.
What?
My understanding on this verse is, so we have to do everything to satisfy the different parts of the Lord as a sacrifice. But the intention of this verse is, in this age, it is not possible to fulfill each sacrifices that is required by the Vedas. So
Yes.
Sankirtana Yajna is our means, despite these different sacrifices are quoted here.
Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Haribol. Go ahead. Sukirti first.
Maharaj, my question was just trying to understand, we are using these words, incarnation, expansions, avatars. Here it says Yajneshwara is one of the incarnation Supreme Lord. What we have heard is like the Dasha Avatar, which general, a lot of people are aware of it. So what's the difference between these incarnations and the avatars?
Well, an incarnation can be an avatar, of course. All right, now see, the word incarnation is a Latin word, and that's why we use the word avatar and not incarnation. Incarnation, the literal meaning of it is someone takes birth in a material body. But an avatar is someone who descends from the spiritual world in a spiritual body. So using the word incarnation is misleading. Using the word avatar is correct, because it's not someone who appears in a material body. It's someone who's coming down from the spiritual world with a specific duty that they've been given, and their body is spiritual. So you cannot say that Varaha is an incarnation with using the definition. If you look up, why don't you look up incarnation right now? See, Prabhupada had to use words in English to translate words in Sanskrit. But sometimes you can't really use those English words because they can be misleading. So what does it say?
So multiple definitions in the dictionary. One says embodiment or lifetime.
Okay, embodiment means you have a material body.
Like a person who embodies in the flesh a deity, spirit or quality.
What? A person who?
Who embodies in the flesh.
Okay, so it's talking about a material body.
Yeah.
So therefore, if you use the word incarnation, it's actually misleading. But if you use the word avatara, it's not misleading, because avatara means someone who descends from the spiritual world in their spiritual body and performs certain functions that are necessary for spreading Krishna consciousness. All right, you understand? So, well, every one of those expansions is a spiritual body because they're expansions of Krishna. Right? They're not material bodies. Unless you talk maybe about the universal form. That is a material form of Krishna. It's temporary. But an expansion of the Lord is a transcendental personality, like Narayana, like Varaha, and so forth. Okay, so now you know the difference between incarnation and expansion. Okay, yes? You speak in the microphone. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So based on this definition, would someone like Vyasadev or Rishabdev, would they be considered as incarnations?
Okay, there's 6 types of incarnations. They would be considered Shaktavish avatars. They receive a unique power. Although they are people like us, jivas, they receive a unique power, such as Vyasadeva received the unique power of writing Vedas. So in that case, he is a Shaktavish avatar. He's endowed with this one very amazing qualification, as he can write tremendous purports and Vedas and things like that, and compile them and so forth. So there's 6 types of avatars. You want to know what they are? You have yeah, 1 second. Interesting. I'm not finding it.
We found it on the.
I have it, but I'm not finding it. What's that? What's that?
It's online in ISKCON design.
Purusha avatars, Leela
Okay.
avatars, Guna avatars, Manvantara avatars, Yuga avatars, Shakta Vesh avatars.
All right.
Yeah, I think they given examples also.
6 types of avatars. Wow. I don't understand why I can't find it. I had it in my book for years. Maybe I'm not looking in the right place. Okay, anyway, you just named them. So there are different types of avatars. The Shaktavash avatar can be a jiva who receives one tremendous quality given by the Lord in order to do some wonderful pastime, like writing Vedas and so forth. Okay? Does that answer your question? Any other questions?
So these, so that avatar, like who's like a jiva, who has a special purpose with a special skill.
Yes.
Do they have a material body, Maharaj?
Their body has become spiritualized. Just like your body can become spiritualized by using it only for devotional service. Then your spiritual body becomes active. You have a spiritual body, you have your soul, right? But it's inactive right now, in a sense, because you're identifying with the material body and doing all things for the material body, nothing for Krishna. As soon as you do everything for Krishna, you spiritualize your body. That's why, like great sannyasis, they don't cremate their bodies. Why? Because if they're bona fide sannyasis, they've used their body their whole lifetime in the service of Krishna. Therefore, they're not cremated. They're preserved in salt and other things and buried like that. Okay? Okay, I have to write down 6 kinds of avatars. So, any other questions?
Maharaj, one question.
Yes.
Today we were discussing that Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the highest yoga dharmas.
What?
Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the highest form of doing the Sankirtan Yajna. But you were mentioning that Gayatri Mantra, Gayatri, all these things, if we go and tell to our relatives,
If what?
if we talk to relatives and
relatives?
friends, yeah, relatives and friends, if they go for this kind of a, for other kind of a yajnas,
Yes.
and if you tell them this is not that much, they may not be doing correctly, or they may say that, hey, you are not understanding they are doing all the Sanskrit verses, and they will counter argue. What is the best way to
Well, there is a verse in Bhagavad Gita that says you should not disturb the minds of people. Because if they do go to Gayatri Mantra, puja, it's better than going to the movies, right? So they're making some type of a little bit of advancement. It also depends on the pundits. So you should not discourage people from going to those type of pujas, but you should be able to explain the uniqueness of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Now, you haven't taken any notes about the uniqueness of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, so you would not be able to convince somebody in your present state. Right? So you need to learn more about the uniqueness of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Like yesterday, were you in the class yesterday, last night? Huh? You were running around after the thieves, yes. The thieves stole your chance to understand the uniqueness. So anyway, you have to specifically understand the uniqueness of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. You don't want to discourage people who are less, let's say they are traditional Hindus that they've been taught from childhood up that you have to do all these different pujas. Actually, it's very lucrative for the brahmanas. And they make a lot of money by all these pujas, right? But they're not necessary in Kali Yuga. But if you tell them, this is not necessary, don't do it, they're going to get upset. They're going to get confused. They're going to eventually not talk to you anymore. So instead of going there, you should rather not discourage them, but on the other hand, little by little, explain the uniqueness of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Now, what is the uniqueness? Simply by chanting Hare Krishna purely, you can go back to Godhead in this age. Whether you go to the Gayatri Puja or not, simply by chanting purely and by engaging in pure devotional service, you go back to Godhead, right? And what could be easier than that? Chant, dance, feast, preach, go on Sankirtan, organize festivals, this thing and that thing, and associate with good devotees, and always hear Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. That's all you have to do. They're all fun things to do. They're all easy. They're not complicated. You don't have to meditate standing on your head or your foot behind your ear or something like that. You see, so you have to be able to explain the uniqueness of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Now, what is the uniqueness? One, there's no difference between the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and Krishna himself. That's the definition of absolute. Krishna is absolute. So therefore, the vibration of his name is non-different than himself. So where is that said? Let's take a look. Every day we recite this Brahma Samhita. And it says, let's take a look at that verse. He is an undifferentiated entity. Ekopya so rachayatum jagadanda kotim. This is Brahma Samhita, text 35. As there is no distinction between the potency and the possessor thereof, in his work of creation of millions of worlds, his potency remains inseparable. All the universes exist in him, and he is present in his fullness in every one of the atoms that are scattered throughout the universe at one and the same time. Such is the primeval Lord, whom I adore. Also, it says, Angani yasya sakilandriya vrittimanti yasyanti panti chayanti jayat chaganti ananda chinmaya sadujvala vigrahasya govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, whose transcendental form is full of bliss, truth, substantiality, and is thus full of the most dazzling splendor. Each of the limbs of that transcendental figure possesses in himself the full-fledged functions of all the organs, and eternally sees, maintains, and manifests the infinite universes, both spiritual and mundane. So it means that there's no difference between his body and himself. And every part of his body is spiritual. So here you have two verses that we recite every day, explaining that Krishna and his body are non-different, and that every limb of his body can perform every one of the functions of the other limbs. And therefore, you cannot say that there's a difference between his body and himself, whereas in our case, there is a difference between our body and ourself. So, these are different things that we have to learn, and eventually explain to others, but in a nice way, not in a, let's say, in a gross way. in which they say, well, you don't really know what you're talking about. This is not necessary. That's not necessary. It's all nonsense. You just chant Hare Krishna. They're not going to listen to you if you talk like that. In fact, they're going to get insulted. Huh?
I think you're referring to the verse, that's the 326.
326. Okay, I was looking for it, yeah. So it says, so as not to disrupt the minds of ignorant men attached to the fruitive results of prescribed duties, a learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. So this Vidyasagar should be your verse. You have to understand what this verse is saying. In the purport it says, Vedaischa sarviraham eva vedya. That is the end of all Vedic rituals. All rituals, all performances of sacrifice, and everything that is put into the Vedas, including all direction for material activities, are meant for understanding Krishna, who is the ultimate goal of life. But because the conditioned souls do not know anything beyond sense gratification, they study the Vedas to that end. In other words, they're studying the Vedas to improve their sense gratification, rather than to develop pure love for Krishna. But through fruitive activities and sense gratification regulated by the Vedic rituals, one is gradually elevated to Krishna consciousness. Therefore, a realized soul in Krishna consciousness should not disturb others in their activities or understanding, but he should act by showing how the results of all work can be dedicated to the service of Krishna. Okay? That's the key statement right there. Therefore, a realized soul in Krishna consciousness should not disturb others in their activities or understanding, but he should act by showing how the results of all work can be dedicated to the service of Krishna. The learned Krishna conscious person may act in such a way that the ignorant person working for sense gratification may learn how to act and how to behave. Although the ignorant man is not to be disturbed in his activities, a slightly developed Krishna conscious person may directly be engaged in the service of the Lord without waiting for other Vedic formulas. For this fortunate man, there is no need to follow the Vedic rituals, because by direct Krishna consciousness, one can have all the results one would otherwise derive by following one's prescribed duties. There it is. That's your verse. That's your purport. Now you should study this very carefully and try and understand what's being said. Basically, this is the difference between Lord Chaitanya and everybody else. Everybody else will say, well, you got to do this, and then you got to do that. You know, you have to learn Sanskrit, and then you have to learn Sanskrit grammar, and then you have to learn Sanskrit context, and then you have to learn this, and then you have to learn that, and then eventually then you can do some pujas, and then you can do this, and then you can do that. That's all unnecessary. But we should not, insult people by saying, look, everything you're doing is nonsense. No. We should show them by your example, your kindness, your compassion, your love for Krishna, that there is a better way and much easier way of achieving the same result without telling them, look, it's impossible to perform any yajnas in this age of Kali because you don't have any bona fide brahmanas. Well, that would insult all the brahmanas, right, if you say that. But you have to, by your example is better than precept. Always learn what, this Prabhupada would always say this, example is better than precept. So practical example of someone who loves Krishna and has attained that love by simply chanting Hare Krishna and engaging in devotional service is a powerful way of convincing people. Because they see you're kind, you're gentle, you're compassionate, you're patient, you're full of love for God, you're sharing your love of God with others, you're not prejudiced, you're not let's say, you don't get angry easily. You go down a list of the 26 qualities of a pure devotee. Now you're able to convince people by your actions, not by your words, but by your actions. That's much more powerful than trying to convince someone with words. You got that? So, we're not here to insult people. We're here to elevate people. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah, so this is the 3rd chapter, 26th verse, Bhagavad Gita. Any other questions? Yes.
Maharaj, for my understanding, the Gayatri mantra is chanted by after second initiation. Like, what is the intention behind it?
To help you go back to Godhead. Now, let's put it like this. The Hare Krishna mantra, you can go back to Godhead simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. But we also can chant the Gayatri mantra, but the Gayatri mantra given to us, that's somewhat different than the Gayatri mantra that other sampradayas are receiving. Like one Gayatri mantra is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, but that's not the Gayatri mantra that we're receiving. I mean, you can chant that mantra also, but our Gayatri mantra, especially the last 2 lines of it, are unique and pointing directly at pure love of Krishna and complete surrender to the Lord. So when you get the Gayatri mantra, and this is all explained in the Brahma Samhita. I'm not going to go into a whole explanation right now, but we can, like tomorrow, discuss what is the Gayatri mantra given to us at initiation, second initiation. It's a little different than other people. Like someone will say, you could ask someone, what Gayatri mantra you're reciting? So someone will say, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That's correct. That is a Gayatri mantra also. But, and then there's others that I may know or I might not know. But the one that we receive is a little bit unique, because the last 2 lines of that Gayatri mantra is pure love of Krishna. Okay?
Before I know, Gayatri mantra is only one. That's Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha.
Yeah, that's another Gayatri mantra. You see my point.
Okay, that's different.
Which Gayatri mantra are we talking about? It's the one that's explained in Brahma Samhita by Brahma himself. Right. That's the one we're chanting. Yeah.
So Maharaj, I think in the past few times, I think you mentioned that it's not required for the second initiation. You can still go back to Godhead versus definitely going through the second initiation. And there are also other...
You can go back to Godhead simply by chanting Hare Krishna. No doubt about it. But why are these other things recommended to us? Because we're coming from such low class traditions that it's recommended to also have the Gayatri mantra. But not Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha, although that is a Gayatri mantra also, but the one that is given to us at initiation, second initiation.
For those of us who are first initiated, is it mandatory and is it recommended that we should also aspire for the second initiation? Or is it?
Second initiation, especially recommended if you want to do deity worship. If you don't want to do deity worship, I mean, we have nothing against deity worship, but if you don't want to, you just want to go out every day, distribute books, preach, chant Hare Krishna, that's okay. You don't need to get second initiation. But if you want to worship the deities, you have to have second initiation. Because it means you're punctual, you're clean, you're meticulous in caring for the deities, and you're focused completely on pleasing the Lord. Right? On the other hand, the person who's going out every day distributing books, chanting Hare Krishna, preaching, that's also glorious. And what is our movement? The Hare Krishna movement is the Hare Krishna Sankirtan movement. That means the Yuga Dharma of this age is going out and performing Sankirtan. It's not staying inside the temple all day long and doing deity worship, although there's nothing wrong with that. It's also necessary. Why? Because we're coming from such low traditions that the cleanliness, the timeliness of being a pujari is also very important, right? But someone could say, like Narada Muni, he's always preaching. He's always chanting Hare Krishna. He's making devotees all over the universe, right? Do you see him doing arti? I don't think so. So, you see that if everybody cooperates, you have the pujaris, you have the preachers, then it's a transcendental, system, and everybody's making spiritual advancement.
So I guess my question is, let's say if I'm only interested in preaching,
yeah,
but still, is it not advisable to go for the second initiation, or is it not required, or is it? I'm just trying to see, like, is it only for the deity worship, or is it like it's still a process of purification that is good anyway?
It is a process of purification. It makes you very punctual, being on time, being clean. You have to take, you look at Parth, he's taking like 3-4 baths a day. He's doing sometimes 3-4 artis a day. So, I mean, you don't see him. I see him all day long. He's only engaged with the deities. Thank God. Right? So you can do that also. Or like many others, they're not full-time pujaris, but they're pujaris, so they can come and do deity worship. So there are different levels of the deity worship also. I mean, you could be all day long just doing deity worship, like Parth and some other devotees. And we don't stop that. I don't think you're ready to do that, though. You might be. I mean, you can become a brahmana and then, different devotees, they're not here 24 hours a day like Parth, but you can become a brahmana and engage in deity worship. No one's stopping you. I didn't say it's a bad thing. But let's say somebody is not so interested in doing that. They're more interested in going out and distributing Prabhupada's books, preaching to people, and trying to convert people to Krishna consciousness. That's also important. That's also purity. It's also complete absorption in Krishna consciousness. Okay? See now, if you want to have the thread just so you can tell people you're a brahmana, then that's not bona fide. I mean, a lot of people, there was this one person who was begging me all the time to become a brahmana. And I told him, I said, look, you're not ready. But, he was getting angry and whatever. So finally we gave him brahmana he did deity worship for about 2 months, then he stopped. Right? So why should we give Brahman initiation to a person like that? That, they just do it for a couple months and then they stop coming. So it means that, it's a big responsibility. You have to continue the rest of your life engaging in deity worship. Or at least some deity worship. Okay, any other questions? Well, thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Mando Mui Savadana Mate Mando Mui Savadana Mate Janara Prasade Bhai Baba Thoriya Jai Krishna Prapti Krishna Prapti Oya Oite Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitte Koriya Aikya Arana Koriya Mani Asa Shri Guru Charane Rati Aise Uttam Agati Jai Prasade Pure Sarva Asa Ye Prasade Pure Sarva Asa Prasade Pure Sarva Asa Shubha prakashito.
Dive jnana hriday prakashito.
Dive jnana hriday prakashito. Prema bhakti jaha
Prema bhakti jaha hoite avidya vinasa jate. Vede gaye jahar charito. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adhama Janara Bandhu. Lokana Lokera Jivana. Prabhupada ilo Sharana. Prabhu Toro Daya Deho More Pada Chaya.
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Mayapura Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Rasamaya ki jai. Jamuna Maya ki jai. Samaveta Bhakti ki jai. Jai Gaur Prem. All glories to Krishna. All glories to all glories to Son. All glories to Shri Guru, Shri Guranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad. Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Prachari. Devi Sesa Srimati The lotus feet of our spiritual master, the only way by which we attain the pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, we can cross the ocean of pure suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have the consciousness purified by the word of the smell. Attached to his lotus feet is the perfection of his spiritual life. He opens my darkened eyes. He is my Lord. From him ecstatic emanation. By him the Vedic scriptures sing of his charity. Our friend of the poor and Lord and Master. O Master, be merciful to us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet, your famous spread on our feet. We take shelter of those feet. Srila Prabhupada